Hi, it's Dr. Adam Fraser here, and I just wanted to run you through a new keynote that I have and also a new area of research that we're focusing on around customer experience. And the reason this is very important is that so many services and products today have been commoditized. We're outsourcing stuff all over the place. We can get things done so cheaply. And because of that, what we're asking is, what's the currency that is transacted when we interact with the customer, and what sort of experience do we give them, and how do we stand out? And I think business in general, the narrative has shifted and it's gone away from how do we keep doing the same stuff but to more people, which is scale, to how do we stand out and offer something different. Now, what we haven't known until recently is how to, on a psychological level, how do we stand out? How do we be unique? How do we be different? And we didn't know that until this new cutting edge research has started to explore how we judge an experience. And what we've discovered is that we don't remember an entire experience. We don't have that much bandwidth. We can't store that much data. What we remember is small slithers of information. And what this new research shows is that it's kind of counterintuitive, but the start doesn't matter that much. What we remember when we judge an experience is something that stood out really good, that was unique and different, or something that stood out really bad, that was unique and different. And finally, how did we feel when the experience ended? And it's called peak end theory. So what stood out, either good or bad, and how did we feel when the experience ended? That's what we remember. And what this keynote goes into is how do we start to use this information to create customers for life, for getting advocacy, for increasing whether it's NPS that you measure, but how do we create amazing experiences for people? And we did this one piece of research with Toyota. And we ran them through the theory, and we sat down, and what we did was map out every touch point when you buy a car. And what we did then was interviewed customers and salespeople to look at how they felt about each touch point. And one of the biggest things we found was this big gap between what the salespeople liked and what the customer liked. Now, in all those touch points, the most negative one for a customer was when they paid the money. So they felt the worst when they handed over the check. But for the salespeople, that was the best moment because they got paid. Now, for the customer, the most important touch point was delivery, when they got the car. And because this was the last experience, how they felt at delivery determined whether they referred people to that dealership and raved about it. But how did the salespeople, or how did the salesperson feel about delivery? They didn't care about delivery because they've already got their money and they wanted to move on to the next customer. And the first thing we did is we had to show salespeople that delivery was the deal breaker. It was all about delivery. And then what we looked at is every touch point, we came up with ways to insert peak moments so that every time they interacted with that dealership, all they remembered was these amazing experiences. So we looked at how do we eradicate the negative peak moments, the negative stuff that stood out, and how do we make the experience all peak moments. And with the dealerships that we worked with, when they implemented this, they dramatically turned around their business and also gave customers an amazing experience. I've been working with a bridge climb recently where clearly climbing the bridge is an amazing moment, but what we're looking at is how do we create peak moments at every touch point. I've even worked with CBA recently in business banking about how do they do the same thing. Think about every touch point that they have with a customer and how do they add peak moments into it and remove the negative moments. And the thing about this keynote is it's fascinating to what people walk away with from this keynote is an understanding of the psychology of how we judge an experience, every experience. Number two is massive awareness about, through the customer's eyes, of what every touch point feels like. Are there peak moments? that are great? Are there negative peak moments? And also, how do we create these lasting experiences so people walk away and never forget us? And when that service or industry comes to mind, that's the thing that they remember, all those peak moments. So we're really excited about this research. We're really excited about this keynote because one, it's fun. Number two, it's fascinating. And number three, they'll walk out of the room with a really clear blueprint of what's each touch point that I have with my customers and how do I create peak moments in each aspect of those touch points. So look forward to seeing you at the keynote, and if you've got any further questions, feel free to contact the office.